From caves filled with scary mummies, bats, and poison, to the world's biggest caverns and lemurs as big as gorillas, here are 15 strange things found in caves. 15. Secret tunnels. They're also referred to as the West Wycombe Caves, since they're located above the village of the same name in southeast England. The Hellfire Caves, now that is a reference to the Hellfire Club, and that was a members-only type fraternity that included important political and social figures of the day. It's even said that Benjamin Franklin visited the caves on occasion, although it is unsure whether or not he was a bona fide member. Now, it's also unsure if claims of black magic and unholy rituals were really practiced by the club, but it is part of the legend. After the club was disbanded, the caves fell into disrepair, but they were later reopened as a tourist attraction in 1951. 14. Ghosts in the cave. Now, this is the longest known cave system in the world, going some 412 miles. It's located in Kentucky, and Mammoth Cave is actually located within the national park of the same name. With so much space within that limestone labyrinth, you're bound to find something weird showing up. Now, in this case, there are many ghost stories concerning the location. Witnesses, including park employees and visitors, say the apparitions have been seen wandering about the location. We found that Mammoth Cave was the location for an experimental tuberculosis hospital in 1842. Now, that experiment ended badly, and many of the patients died, and now the ghosts are said to haunt Mammoth Cave. 13. Snotite. Now, it's easy enough to see where this substance gets its name. It is found hanging from the ceilings of caves, not unlike smaller stalactites. The difference is, this material has the consistency of mucus. Even though it looks like an unsanitary person just blew the nose without a tissue, snotite is actually a form of single-celled bacteria. Now, while the bacteria appears rather unappetizing, the creatures have an unappetizing quality as well. Because they thrive on volcanic sulfur compounds, they produce highly toxic waste products, which can be as corrosive as battery acid. It was given the name snotite in 1986. Although it doesn't sound too scientific, that name did stick. 12. Seemingly bottomless pit. Now, take a wrong step in this cave, and it'll be a long way until you hit bottom. Ellison's Cave is the 12th deepest cave in the US and features fantastic pit. And while it is not bottomless, it is the deepest underground pit in the continental US, extending some 586 feet. Experts tell us that if you were to toss a penny down from such a height, it would take almost 8 seconds to hit the cave floor. With several other vertical pitches in the 12-mile-long cave, it has become a popular destination for rappellers and spelunkers. 11. Baghdad Battery. Now, this actually refers to artifacts that were unearthed in a village near Baghdad in 1938. Unusual pots made from terracotta each had an iron rod and a copper cylinder contained within. Researchers of the time theorized that the objects could have been created as long ago as 150 BC, and that when assembled, the pot may have served as a battery. If the pots were filled with wine or grape juice, an electrical current could have been created between the iron and copper electrodes, which could result in a primitive type of electrical cell. Over the years, a lot of conjecture has arisen as to whether or not these objects actually did constitute a true battery. 10. Unfinished business. A gigantic piece of stone was found buried in the ancient quarries near Aswan, Egypt. It was likely intended to be erected as an obelisk, but it was never finished. Cracks in the stone seem to have formed during the quarrying, but some believe it was due to the workers being violently interrupted. Now, what makes this object so notable is its immense size. Standing at a height of 137 feet tall and weighing some 1,200 tons, the single huge piece of stone would have exceeded the height of a 10-story building and weighed more than 200 adult African elephants. That makes it the largest known ancient obelisk. 9. World's biggest cave. Now, this is actually the world's biggest underwater cave, and it was discovered on the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico near the city of Tulum. The huge cave is actually the combination of two flooded cavern systems that were previously known. A connection was found between the two systems that resulted in an underwater flooded cavern that measures some 215 miles long. Now, because it contains evidence of the first settlers in America, the Maya culture, and extinct animals, experts call this the world's most important submerged archaeological site. 8. Prehistoric lion cubs. The Sakha Republic is recognized as the largest and coldest region in Siberia, and that cold weather seems to help preserve the remains of prehistoric creatures. The incredibly well-preserved remains of 2 cave lion clubs were found that date back more than 10,000 years when the cave collapsed on them. Experts say the cubs are the best preserved specimens of the kind ever found. Cave lions range from Alaska to Europe until the late Pleistocene some 10,000 years ago. Paintings of them have been found in caves, depicting them hunting together, not unlike lionesses of today. They are in fact closely related to the modern-day big cats, and it's hoped that these ancient specimens will offer clues as to why their species died out. 7. Poison Cave. These caves were discovered near the Black Sea in Romania in 1986, and they are more commonly referred to as the Movile Caves. The Poison Cave is a reference to the suffocating atmosphere produced by the hydrogen sulphide and carbon dioxide in the groundwater there. Only a third of the atmosphere is composed of oxygen like you'd find in the open air. While toxic to humans though, some creatures like spiders and scorpions find the place to be perfectly hospitable. Overall, more than 30 species are endemic to the Poison Cave. But according to experts, those life forms have been separated from the world outside for more than 5 million years. 6. The Bat Cave, more formally known as the MANMOTH Bat Cave Sanctuary. It is found in the Philippines on Samul Island. It's where you'll find a huge colony of fruit bats, and they are a large species of bat often referred to as megabats. That's because the biggest of them can have wingspans exceeding 5 feet and weigh nearly 4 pounds. Stretching along some 245 feet or 75 meters, the cave is covered with the flying mammals hanging from the walls and ceilings. They mean humans no harm, but a sight like that is pretty sobering, you'd have to admit. Even Batman might be a little leery of the critters there. And did you know that Guinness says this is the largest single colony of its sort? The area has been the home base for more than 2 million fruit bats since recorded history, so they have been hanging around there for quite a while. 5. Holm salamander. They are known as the only cave-dwelling vertebrates of Europe, and unlike most amphibians, they are entirely aquatic, even sleeping underwater. The ancient salamanders are blind, but possess well-developed sensory organs that enable them to hunt prey like small crabs, snails, and insects. They've evolved over millions of years to exist in a subterranean environment and can live for a century. But despite those long lifespans, the creatures only reproduce about once a decade. Did you know these creatures are sometimes called baby dragons? When heavy rains in Slovenia in the late 17th century washed them up from the subterranean habitat, people thought they were baby dragons that lived deep inside the earth. 4. Cosmos in a Cave. Now, if you have a chance to visit the Waitomo glowworm caves on the North Island of New Zealand, you just might think you've stepped off the planet. Iridescent azure light shimmering against a dark background can appear an awful lot like the stars of a distant galaxy. But the spectacular effect is due to the glowworms that inhabit the grotto, and they produce a luminescence so bright that you can actually see inside the area. The glowworms are endemic to New Zealand, and that glow has a practical purpose as well as the aesthetic. Experts say the adult female insects use the glow as a way for them to attract mates, in addition to catching prey for their larvae. 3. Larger-than-life lemurs. Depending on the species, lemurs generally range in size from an ounce to about 20 pounds, but fossils discovered in Madagascar have shown evidence that the primates may have grown much larger than that in the distant past. Imagine a lemur the size of a gorilla. Researchers found hundreds of fossilized remains in a submerged cave off the west coast of Madagascar, and based on previous finds in the region, the remains are likely some 4,000 years old, but were almost perfectly preserved. The skull of a lemur was found at the base of the cave that measured nearly a foot in length. Now, from that evidence, experts have estimated the ancient animal's weight at approximately 165 pounds, or around the dimensions of a female gorilla. But another specimen was about the size of an adult male gorilla, which can weigh around 400 pounds. 2. The Kabayan mummies, also known as fire mummies. They were found in natural caves in the mountains of Kabayan in the northern part of the Philippines. Now, they are clearly of ancient origin, but there is some debate as to just how ancient they are. Some experts say they were created by indigenous peoples and buried in caves between 1200 and 1500 AD, while others say the mummies were created as far back as 2000 BC. They were created in a unique process that involved tobacco smoke being blown into the corpse's mouth to dehydrate the inside of the body. 1. The Salt Men. Now that sounds sort of like the title of a grade B horror movie, doesn't it? Well, the Salt Men do, or did exist, and their tale does read a bit like a horror story. They were found in the Sharabad salt mines of Iran. The remains of 6 men have been recovered, all of whom were thought to have been accidentally killed during a cave-in. Experts say the atmosphere of the salt mines worked to mummify the bodies, and so preserved them for ages. In fact, the oldest mummy is dated at around 1700 years old. Some of the remains still had hair and beards intact, and that white hair, along with the skin's greenish tinge, makes the preserved specimens appear very strange indeed, almost alien.